to fight on the landing ground.
Thank you for joining us. You are listening to A Radio, and this is The Morning Moment. Please click on the follow button on Spreaker.com. Today, I want to do a short article from the Gatestone Institute entitled Which Way Will France Go? By Giulio Mitoli, and I will put a link to the full article on my website. If Emmanuel Macron wins, that is the general election for president, France, as we have known it, it can be considered pretty much over. By blaming colonialism for French troubles in the Arab world and calling it a crime against humanity, he has effectively legitimized Muslim extremist violence against the French Republic. In just 2 years, I want you to listen to this, ladies and gentlemen, in just 2 years, Muslim organizations in France have dragged to trial great writers such as Georges Benusson, Pascal Bruckner and Renaud Camas. It is the Islamist dream coming true, seeing Islamophobes on trial to restrict their freedom of expression. Does that ring any bells in Canada? It should do. M103, for instance. Charlie Hebdo's physical massacre was therefore followed by an intellectual one. It was a sort of farewell to the army during a brief visit to the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle last December that French President François Hollande honoured the French soldiers involved in Operation Chamal against the Islamic State. After 2 years and 238 deaths at the hands of Islamic terrorism, what did France do to defeat radical Islam? Almost nothing. It is this legacy of indifference that is at stake in the looming French presidential election. If Marine Le Pen wins, it means France has rejected this autocratic legacy and wants to try a different, braver way. If Emmanuel Macron wins, France, as we have known it, can be considered pretty much over. Macron, for example, is against taking away French nationality from jihadists. Doesn't that sound familiar, ladies and gentlemen in Canada? We're very familiar with somebody who's just done that, aren't we? Terrorism, Islam, and security are almost absent from Macron's vocabulary. Doesn't that sound familiar, ladies and gentlemen in Canada? So there we have it. I'm just going to jump in there. There's a lot more to be said, but this, to my mind, is an exact parallel for what's going on here in Canada. Islamophobia, M103, people are against Islam, etc., etc. No, I'm against you in politics. Think that you have the right to take away my free speech. And everyone within the sound of my voice and everybody listening to this needs to wake up and realise that these comments that are being made abroad in magazines, newspapers and on TV, which are not being made in Canada, the same sort of things are going on here. And while this is going on, there's some sort of committee in Canada looking into Islamophobia. No. You need to be looking into free speech. Committee members, you need to be looking into free speech. It's in the Charter, Section 2 of the Charter. And I'm going to keep saying this to the people who don't understand. Look it up. Section 2 of the Charter and read it. And further to that, read Section 319 of the Criminal Code. In my mind, this section is illegal because it's unconstitutional. And I think they know it, but they're just expanding on it. This has to stop. What is it going to take to stop this stuff going on? What is it going to take to stop? When you're being herded into a train? Do I need to expand on that analogy? I'm sorry to be so graphic, but this is the way this is going, because that's what's going on. That's what's going to happen. What are you going to do when they come down the street that you're in with machetes? Because the politicians in Canada have taken away your right to protect yourself. Make no bones about that. Is that when you're going to wake up? When you realise it's too late? But let's be honest about it. You won't be able to have this conversation very much longer if that committee has its way. which is the most undemocratic organisation I have ever seen in all the time I've been in this country. I utterly despair of the people listening to this and not understanding what's going on. There are people out there of a certain ethnic group, and no, I'm not talking about that ethnic group, whose grandparents have experienced this first hand. They know the signs. They know what's going on. They know this is not a game. It's real. And I cannot emphasize enough that our politicians are complicit with taking away your free speech. That's what they're doing. By being silent. In my case, my MP was in Washington when the vote came in. He shouldn't have been in Washington. He should have been in the House of Commons voting no. At least having his vote registered, even if he doesn't have the majority, he can stand up with pride and say, we voted against this. We voted against taking away your free speech. Why should I vote for him in my next general election? Why should you vote for your MP who wants to take away your free speech? So I ask you this final question. When next you see them, ask them this one question. How do you justify that? You can find more at aradio.wordpress.com. I am very pleased to announce that thanks to you for following us on Spreaker.com, that A Radio can now be found on iTunes under A Radio. Thank you, everyone. And I'm on Twitter at A Radio Canada. I'm also on Facebook at A Radio Canada. I am on Gab at A Radio. You can email me at aradiocanada@gmail.com. Please click the follow button on Spreaker.com. You can listen to all my morning minutes at Spreaker.com under A Radio. That's EHRADIO, A Radio. And please click on the like button. And you can also find all my podcasts and morning minutes at aradio.wordpress.com. And click on the morning minutes tab.